It opens with Mukodha Tsuyoshi getting teleported alongside heroes to another world, specifically the kingdom of Reisiger. The palace mage appraises all the heroes only to find that Mukodha's skill is online grocery, practically useless to kingdom. He leads him to meet the king either way. Mukodha pleads his case with his royal highness, explaining how he'll be comfortable living a quiet and simple life as a normal citizen. The king agrees and sends him off with 20 gold coins of hush money. As Mukodha walks away, he notices how differently he's dressed and immediately shops for new clothes before sorting out lodging. Getting to his room, the Outworlder decides to check out his absurd skill. He finds out he also wields the item box skill, which allows him to store any number of goods for future use. He's surprised when he taps on the online grocery and a page full of various foods and items pop up before him. Mukodha feeds the online page a silver coin, and his bread and water arrive magically in a box. He seeks out a way to leave the country before his skill is found out. In his bid to live Reisiger, he makes his way to go to the Adventurers Guild to hire some people to export him on foot to Vinan. The guild attendant informs him that it would cost 8 gold at least, a steep price, but Mukodha pays anyway. Mukodha is introduced to Werner, who's a C-rank adventurer, and both parties come to an agreement after Mukodha offers to provide meals throughout the journey to Vinan. The next morning, the party sets out. Werner the leader, Vincent the swordsman, Rita the scout, Ramon the mage, and Franca the healer all begin their escort of Mukodha. It's lunch, and Mukodha pulls out a stove and pan from his item box and blatantly lies about its source to the rest of the party. He heats up onion soup, but the whole team thinks he made it from scratch. The meal ends up so delicious that the team keep praising his cooking. They're ambushed by low-rank monsters, but Werner and Vincent kill them off immediately. A wild red boar chooses to attack next, but it is no match for the Werner and Vincent combo. They skin the boar and keep the meat with Mukodha, who later prepares another outworldly meal of sausage, pot-au-feu, and bread. The whole team wants seconds after tasting the amazing meal and keep mentioning how they feel better because of it. This prompts Mukodha, who notices the bump up in their skills after they eat his meal, but decides it's better to keep it a secret. He tries to make the next meal with as little otherworldly spice as possible, but the ginger-fried red boar attracts an uninvited guest, a Fenrir. The Fenrir demands to be fed what was left of the meat, and the whole team, being stumped with fear, urge Mukodha to obey. The beast can't have enough as it orders batch after batch from Mukodha until it eats to satisfaction. The Fenrir decides to bless Mukodha by forming a contract with him. After forming the contract, the Fenrir demands a name from Mukodha, and they both settle on calling it Fel. The party is approaching the border of Vinan, and everyone is worried about what to do with the Fenrir in their company when the time comes to pass. Fel doesn't fail to threaten death to whatever stands in their way. It's lunchtime, and everyone is surprised when Mukodha orders Fel to hunt for meat if he cares to have any. Fel wastes no time bringing back a slain rock bird, and the rest of the team skin it for its meat and leaves the cooking to Mukodha. Mukodha whips up a titillating rock bird teriyaki and onion soup. Werner goes ahead to negotiate with the guards at the border, but they're skeptical about Mukodha's ability to keep Fel under control. Fel promises not to harm anyone that doesn't try to harm them. Werner's party convinces the guards to let them through, and Mukodha discovers the importance of having a guild card when he has to pay for entry. Mukodha signs the document, proving that Werner's party finished the jobs, and they part ways before Mukodha heads to the Merchant's Guild to register. The attendant explains the procedures for Mukodha before handing him his merchant's card. They turn in for the night, but not before Mukodha prepares steaks for Fel with varying steak sauce that appeases the Fenrir. He prepares some rice for himself, but Fel, being a glutton, also asks to eat some. Mukodha heads straight to the Merchant's Guild the next day with his goods for sale and is immediately invited back to meet the guildmaster. They talk about the high quality of his goods, and Mukodha gets 17 gold coins for goods he's bought for 5 copper ones from his online store. After the win, Mukodha heads to the Adventurers Guild to get registered, but is given cold treatment by the attendant. She gives him little to no information, and only because Mukodha insists. Mukodha heads to the Wall of Missions and picks up a G-rank mission to gather herbs. Mukodha prepares breakfast, but it isn't enough to satisfy Fel as they part ways. Mukodha sets out to gather herbs, and Fel goes hunting, but puts a protection spell on Mukodha. Mukodha's appraisal skill comes in handy, and he's done picking herbs in no time. He goes on to prepare lunch, and hungry Fel arrives halfway through with another slain rockbird. Fel has never had pasta in his life, but is pleased immediately it touches his tongue. After the meal, Fel shows Mukodha a host of beasts he had killed on his hunt, even orcs, which had Mukodha skeptical about eating them. They head back to the guild and turn in the herbs for a small sum, and Mukodha catches the once cold attendant blushing at the sight of Fel. He tells her about the beasts Fel had caught, and she directs him to the guild butcher. They agree to exchange the non-edible parts of his catch for money, and the butcher instructs Mukodha to come for the meat and payment the next day. Mukodha prepares dinner from leftover ingredients from his item box, and his fear of orc meat is disbanded after his first bite. Mukodha visits the butcher the next day to pick up a girl of meat and 202 gold coins, much more than he expected. For fear they draw too much attention, Mukodha and Fel leave town immediately. They end up resting in a worn-down building where Mukodha whips up Japanese Wagyu steak for him and his familiar. After Mukodha finds a way to satisfy Fel, he notices that his stats are off the charts. Fel becomes restless from too much power and runs into the forest to look for a challenge. He doesn't find any, but leaves a trail of dead monsters in his wake. Mukodha decides from then on to watch what he feeds the Fenrir. Fel opens up about his wind blessing from the goddess Ninrir, and Mukodha notices he has a little fire magic too. Fel offers Mukodha advice about the flow of magic, but he still performs pathetically. Fel believes in practice making perfect and dumps Mukodha in a goblin camp. Mukodha is forced to improve his fire magic in order to survive, but passes out from exhaustion when he's done. Mukodha wakes to a proud Fel, taking credit from improving Mukodha's fire skill. Fel presents him a slain goblin king, and asks that he retrieve the magic stone from the carcass. Mukodha is too tired to cook, and just orders a bunch of sweets for dinner. He finds out that Fel can't fall sick due to the goddess' blessing and wants his. On getting to the next town, it's the same debacle. The guards hold them up in disbelief, and Mukodha allows them to mistake Fel for a greater wolf. Fel communicates telepathically to Mukodha to lodge complaints, but he keeps quiet and just pretends his guild card to the guards. They let him through, and his first mission is to find a map. Mukodha steps into a pub and buys drinks for the first adventurer he sees. Unfortunately, they rip him off, collecting a gold coin for a map worth only 1 silver. They resolve to travel east amidst Mukodha's sulking. The goddess Ninrir has her eyes on the sweets and otherworldly goodies that Fel and Mukodha are feasting on. Fel carries Mukodha to the sea so they can have some seafood. The Fenrir releases Amino Lightning to stun the fishes and has Mukodha picking them up in their numbers. Mukodha picks ingredients from his online store, and Fel helps set the fire for the grilling of the fish. Mukodha makes her catch into 3 different flavored dulled fish servings and washes his down with a beer. A tipsy Mukodha stumbles upon a baby slime who dissolves all of the thrash from their meal into itself. Mukodha welcomes the slime and it forms a contract with him right there, naming the familiar Sui. Mukodha discovers he has a bit of earth magic too, and Fel offers to help like he did before. Mukodha refused immediately before noticing that Sui is growing faster because of all the otherworldly thrash. He prepares a celebratory dessert. Sui wakes Mukodha up, only for Fel to deliver a message from the goddess Ninrir, saying he would bless Mukodha if he pays her with otherworldly treats once a week. Mukodha agrees and sends up his first offering, and in turn, feels her blessing come upon him. The goddess is very pleased, as she rushes through the sweets as soon as they arrive. Mukodha is now doing better with earth magic, and takes a break to eat some chocolate. Fel notices, and so does the goddess Ninrir. Both ask Mukodha for their portions, and he's left with no choice but to comply. Fel transports Mukodha to a dungeon without his knowledge, and forces him to see it through. In preparation, Mukodha feeds on otherworldly food which pass up his stats by 20%. Sui attacks his first prey with the new acid skill he acquired. They battle slimes, rock rabbits, goblins, and kobolds. The wolf-like beasts make Mukodha improve by force. With Sui's help, Mukodha defeats the Kobold King after trying with earth magic and failing. Mukodha passes out from exhausting his magic and wakes up to a talking Sui. He's surprised by the speaking slime. Fel returns with blood around his mouth and still requests a meal from Mukodha. He prepares Rockbird Oyakodon, and both familiars want seconds. Sui calls the Fenrir Uncle Fel, and he hates it but is emotionally blackmailed into accepting it. That brings us to the end of part 1 of the recap. Please leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to your friends. Stay safe. Until next time.